Yeah, so we're going to be watching the Canadian Esports Nationals group stage match between the Waterloo Warriors Gold and OTSU Esports. This is a best of three series leading into the rest of the tournament. There's a three-team pool that they're currently playing in with Waterloo, OTSU, and U of Alberta.
Yeah, Waterloo's looking really strong in the coming days, so we're going to see if they can pick up a win today or if OTSU can surprise them with a crazy victory. It's going to be a best of three, so we're going to be here for a while, here for some good games, and let's see what's going to happen.
Mhm. Starting off, we have Waterloo on blue side, and coming off of the World Championships, as you were just saying, what do you think are some power picks that we might see coming out as that B1, that priority pick?
Yeah, they got the blue side, which everyone at Worlds has been preferring. So I think they're gonna look to start off with some power picks that we kind of saw in like the finals too, right? So you got these really top priority mid laners like Oriana, Nico, and Zir, and there's some other crazy picks like Aatrox, which everyone's been popping off on, and some priority ADCs like Xayah.
Yeah. Yeah, there are definitely those 1-2 combos that can be really powerful if both of them get placed together. You have obviously Xayah Rakan, but also the Jarvan Rumble combo for the top lane jungle. Rumble himself is a pretty solid blind pick at the moment because a lot of the most meta champions in top lane don't do that well as an answer to him, something like Asante.
Yeah, the Jarvan has really shown himself to be a crazy priority jungler just because of the consistency of his lockdown and his early game pressure. He not only can he gank really well, but his dueling is so good early too, so he can really control what happens in that early game. So we'll have to see if the teams end up picking that up or if there's any crazy counters planned, like Kindred or something like that to counter the Jarvan.
And here we are. So we're jumping into drafts. We see a hover on the Aurelia ban for Warriors Gold to start off. That's paying respect to the solo laners on the side of OTSU, trying to cover some of the most volatile and high impact single characters that they have that they might want to prioritize in the early draft.
Yeah, and the luxury that you get on blue side is you can target those players. You're not forced to ban out these first picks like OTSU have to. And looks like it will be the Graves coming out trying to block out not only the jungle but a flex pick as well.
Yeah, that's the respect towards Onad, who's been performing very well on the Graves in a lot of these collegiate games as of late. Um, Considering that the Graves is a B1 pick, they really think that that character is a flexible and powerful pick with not a lot of answers. They might consider that Waterloo is playing towards a farming jungle strategy in the first place. Then,
Yeah, and it looks like more junglers are going to be banned out here. You're going to see the Talia taken off the board too. Really trying to take out those carry junglers, which is something maybe these teams have been scrimming with, right? The metas aren't always going to be the same between these collegiate leagues and what you see at Worlds. We're also a bunch of patches behind on Worlds, so a lot of the characters are going to be different. But Rakan, crazy support that is going to get banned out
Mhm.
still.
Yeah, the Talia flexibility is also something that Warriors just have to worry about. It seems like neither team is banning towards a specific draft theme, keeping things open. However, with these four picks banned away, a lot of them are kind of hyper specific to the players, like the Graves and the Aurelia. We're leaving a lot of the most powerful meta picks open at the moment. You see Jarvan, Rumble, Oriana, Azir, Xayah all open at the moment. I'd like to see what the Waterloo's going to pull out as the B1.
Yeah, and they're banning the Yasuo, not something you usually see in comp, but hey, maybe someone on OTSU is really putting the time into it, so they don't want to get surprised with some crazy cheese picks or anything here.
Yeah, because that's the thing, right? So when you're playing in scrims and these collegiate matchups, these characters that can come out like the Yasuo, which are very like one player is very good on playing them. You don't have
Mhm.
any practice against that. You're not sure how to answer it. You don't want to get a surprise in draft, even if that means leaving up some meta picks.
Yeah, and that last ban is going to be the Poppy here. I think she's a Loki really good jungle. Had a crazy win rate at Worlds as well. So good to see that
Mhm.
taken off. But yeah, we were saying the Oriana is such a staple pick in the mid lane right now, and Warriors have got to take that away from OTSU.
Yeah, they're hovering that as their B1. Oriana is potentially flexible into the support role as well, depending on Zenden's comfort on the pick. Oriana synergizing really well with a lot of these engage and reliable meta junglers, the Jarvan, the Maokai, which at this point, unless OTSU wants to play for a flexible Jarvan into top or a Maokai into top or support, they're going to be leaving one of those open.
Yeah, they're going to be taking away the Jarvan, which is, I think, a really good pick to get off the board. I want to visit that Ori ball delivery system again because even though the Jarvan's gone, Rel is an amazing delivery carrier for that ball to
Mhm.
try and ult everyone in and get that shockwave off. So we'll see if Warriors will try and pair that up with the Oriana or they want to go for another jungler to try and counter this Jarvan.
And here we see the option for that Jarvan Rumble combo coming out. This is kind of it would open up a lot of options for OTSU if they were to choose the Rumble here. There are hovering Kaisas that might not be their strategy. The Rumble being blindable would leave their R5, the like most powerful pick in the draft, open. But no, they're gonna lock in the Kai'Sa. They're leaving their options open, getting that priority AD carry pick out of the way.
Yeah, Kaisa is one of those premier picks with a lot of self-sustaining survivability of her own with her ulti and the invis and things like that. So they're going to be securing that ADC and looking to try and counterpick somewhere else on the side. We'll see if they try and R3 a mid pick to counter the Orianna or they have any other tricks up their sleeve.
Hmm. So,
Ooh.
oh, with the Wukong, another ball delivery character who's exceptional at getting that in. Yep, Wukong, exceptional at getting towards the backline through peel on the side of OTSU. Something like the Jarvan wall and the Jarvan EQ is going to be very difficult to lock down on the side of Wukong, who also has really good skirmishing power, can answer Jarvan in those 2v2s.
Yeah, and this Camille's really interesting. I'd be very surprised if they lock this in here. Maybe they just really want to play this pick, but no, switching to the Rumble, I like that a lot more here.
Mhm.
Team fights are just the name of the game right now with this draft, so you want to try and secure that team fight power, especially in the mid-game dragon fights, and that's exactly where Rumble excels.
Yeah, Rumble taken away from the Jarvan combo. OTSU now left open to play for a mid counter pick if they so choose, or to get a priority bot lane combo with Kai'Sa. Nautilus obviously famous with that character, so that they don't get their support pool banned out. Rakan's already gone, so we might have some like clinching of that support pool.
Yeah, and they're going to be taking that mid counter pick here. The Ari is going to give you a bit more agency in that mid game, trying to use those charms and the ultis to make some plays. But Oriana will definitely have the scaling on her side. So if this ends up going later into the game, the Ari will fall off. But yeah, the Jarvan Ari combo is really lethal, right? They have such good potency together to try and invade in the jungle or look on the side lanes so easily, and they have to capitalize on that.
Mhm. And another advantage of the Wukong into the Ahri, which we've seen at Worlds and we've seen in competitive scenes past, is Wukong's ability to actually play the role of a disengaged character. His ult is being this zone of interrupting dashes, kind of similar to a Poppy, where essentially like the Ahri ult, if you can react with the Wukong, you can cancel two of her three ultimate abilities as she tries to get away, perhaps following the third with your E. It's very sticky, that Wukong character, into dashing champions like the Ahri.
Yeah, and support characters being banned out should be the Nautilus coming down here trying to take away those premier plasma stacking supports with the
Mhm.
Kaisa. You still got a bunch left like the Rel and the Leona, so we'll see if any of those end up being banned out as well.
Yeah, and I think that Warriors Gold would be pretty happy about seeing Leona come through. They have a lot of disengage and abilities that are just kind of area control, which Leona suffers into. Leona, without her mobility other than in her E, would have a really difficult time walking out of a Rumble ult or an Oriana's dissonance.
Yeah, and they end up banning out the Jinx here, another hyper carry to take out of the pool. But things like the Zaya are still up. If they want to try and go for that late game scaling, the Aphelios is an option as well. So we're gonna see what Warriors end up choosing for that ADC and what OTSU want to try and support, try and counterpick with.
Yeah, at the moment, we're seeing a very forward-facing OTSU draft here. We have Jarvan, Kai'Sa, and Ahri are all dive characters who want to go in and like really just punish the backline of Warriors Gold for any misposition.
Yeah, exactly. Kaisa, even being an ADC, can help with that dive with her ult, just getting in there and gonna try and punish this immobile Oriana and whatever ADC they keep picking. And Renekton is that staple blind pick that everyone just loves to default to. Really hard to counter pick too easily, so they're just gonna be taking that away and looking to get a counter pick on that support matchup.
Well, that's the interesting thing, right? Because they see the Rumble on the side of Warriors Gold, so if they're considering it as a blind pick, which is really Renekton's heaviest strength, it comes in with them considering that the Orianna might be support and they can put that Rumble into mid lane. It's an interesting pick. They obviously have some confidence that their Renekton can answer the Rumble in the
Mhm.
1v1.
Yeah, and it's gonna be interesting. It's a volatile matchup. Whoever gets ahead, ooh, it's gonna be the Callista. That's really interesting that they
Renata
locked
is
that
open.
in. Yeah, Callista Renata to really give them that agency in the bot lane. But it is something that is heavily counter pickable if they try and play maybe these like marksman supports that we've been seeing in Worlds.
Hmm. Yeah, so one thing with the Callista being left open is if OTSU has practiced and is flexible enough to pick out the Ashe support famously good into Callista, because Callista's dash, her passive, scales with move speed, with her boots, her tier 2s, and so Ashe with the consistent slows, notorious for being able to shut down Callista and stop her like forward aggression as an AD carry support.
Yeah, but we'll see what they come up with. But even then, the Renata support is also really strong if it's not able to be like punished in lane, and we'll see what support comes out. I think the Ashe is a great pick. It also gives them another source of engage to just get that Ashe ult from so far away to try and get onto these fairly mobile ADCs in Kalista and Ori. But yeah, the Rel, it's a great plasma stacking engage support, has a lot of AoE, so it's not like it's not just engaging on the Renata that can be Kalista ulted out or anything.
Mhm.
And yeah, just really strong team fights from both these teams so far.
Yeah, I think the bot lane draft here was exceptionally interesting. The Kalista Renata, obviously a powerful 1-2 pick with the synergies of the two characters, but Renata famously good at shutting down heavy melee comps. So when you see something like the Jarvan and the Renekton coming out, you're kind of daring OTSU like to pick that melee tank support. Like the Nautilus and the Alistar that they banned out, they're daring you to pick something like Rel because then you're going more melee favored. Kai'Sa obviously still a lower range AD carry as AD carries go, and OTSU handshakes that, picks out the Rel, and so now we're looking at Renata in her kind of best condition, and Kalista in with the good synergy. Warriors Gold have a very powerful bot lane matchup coming in.
Yeah, looking at the themes that both these teams are carrying forward, I really like how Waterloo has drafted, especially in these last two picks. The Renata would love to ult everyone diving into her. The Callista is good at being able to kite back as well. So the OTSU engages have to be near perfect or they're going to be punished because if Warriors can survive that initial burst, they can turn the tide so easily.
But it's not to dismiss this jungle matchup going in as well. Of course, the Wukong came in after the Jarvan and has heavy synergy with Orianna, but as early game pressure goes, Wukong doesn't have the highest gank pressure until his level 6 when he gets his ult. And I guess that double CC following up, where Jarvan is activated as soon as he takes his first buff, considering if it was the red buff or his level 2 with that EQ follow-up. So it's really going to come down to, well, at least in the early game, Jarvan's ability to punish these immobile solo lanes of Warriors Gold, the Orianna and the Rumble, and to get those flashes out so that when they hit the level 6, when Wukong can start ganking, Jarvan has that ult to follow up on these flashless, dashless characters, where that becomes one of the most powerful CC abilities in the game.
Yeah, and I really want to put a focus on this 2v2. The Jarvan and Ahri are so strong early, and I think they really have to be proactive with it. Try and invade the jungle, try and maybe look for dives bot lane on these on like Kalista and things like that, or else I feel like if they're not able to get a lead by like 15-20 minutes, this game becomes a little difficult to play.
Mm-hmm. And it definitely comes down a lot to the flexibility of the builds on these characters. Of course, Kai'Sa famously good at flexing her builds. She has the lethality AP mixed hybrid build. There's been a lot of Stormrazor Ginsus on Kai'Sa. She can play poke, she can play DPS, she can be a hyper carry or more of a aggressive early game character with that Umbral Glaive, that that Q upgrade. To really fitting whatever role that they feel that they need as they get into the game here. They have really aggressive early game picks. The Ahri, the Renekton, maybe they lean into that with the Kai'Sa in the early game, or they play with her as a late game condition to kind of some insurance, so that if their early game doesn't go as well as they want, they still have the Kai'Sa to rely on to peel with that Renekton targeted CC, that Rel, that Jarvan ult.
Yeah, we'll have to see which build Kai'Sa ends up going into towards as we hop into game here. Things are starting out. Looks like it's going to be a 5-point right off the bat here. Nothing too crazy going to go down.
And right away we're seeing Kai'Sa has taken the Hail of Blades, which leans more into an aggressive, less hyperscaling build, where the Kalista on the other side has taken the lethal tempo, favoring those extended fights.
Yeah, exactly. And this bot lane is going to be really... Oh, Wukong going for a little trade there. I think they just want to try and get some vision down. And there's no red trinket on the side of OTSU, so they are going to be able to tell where the Jarvan is going to be pathing. And ooh, he wants the auto Q or something, but Callum's going to be able to get away here. And yeah, I want both junglers to try and like be proactive on the map regardless of what side they go to. The Kalista Kai'Sa matchup is super volatile as both of these ADCs can snowball really well, but looking at the top side too, right? If you can get a Renekton or a Rumble going, the opponent like can't step up in lane. It's really hard for them to play.
Yeah, and I mean, the Rumble here has taken Comet and taken Ignite. He sees that counter pick of the Renekton, or at least the pick after, and says, well, no, I'm going to win this lane anyway. And so he takes an aggressive rune, he takes an aggressive summoner, and the Wukong starts in his top lane. So unless we see a very early gank, Renekton also starting in top lane, the Wukong leashless blind, we might see kind of a fake out. We have the aggressive summoner in top lane. You would presume that Wukong's going to be pathing toward the Rumble for support, but perhaps he does this full clear, plays for his level 6, and lets the Rumble kind of sit on his own, use that Ignite for aggression.
Yeah, both of the junglers pathing toward this bot side, right? And because it's Renata support ranged into melee and Kalista is just so strong, Waterloo's gonna have the priority as the junglers path down, so they're gonna be able to help Wukong get that scuttle. And what I want to see from the Jarvan is try and be there first, try and catch out the Kalista before the jungler is able to get there. But we'll see if he ends up full clearing or what ends up happening here.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of priority coming out for this level 2 from the Waterloo bot lane. They're hovering their wave just outside of the tower range in the bot lane, hoping to crash that and have the most priority that they possibly can, perhaps to get an early cheater recall, something like a cull, or even some deep vision into this Jarvan's blue side where they know that he did not start.
Yeah, and Plex is just so aware, right? Jarvan tries to look for a gank and is not able to find anything as Plex immediately hovers down toward that bot site, and that's a lot of time gone from his first jungle clear.
And if we're talking about CS differences, you just got to look at the top lane right now. We're seeing 15 to 5. The Renekton just having this wave crash under tower. Rumble, famously good at harassing under tower. This is a manaless character. He's able to tank minion aggro with his shield and kind of stave off aggression. And Renekton, though he is quite good as an early game bully, he's taken Teleport, he's taken Conqueror, and he's taken Doran's shield. So his actual trading ability is a lot less than a more aggressive PTA style, Doran's blade kind of fighting Rumble on his own terms.
Yeah, and Inexhausted just doesn't have to worry about the jungler because they know Jarvan's going down towards that bot side, so he can harass all he wants as both the junglers, they're going to be facing off for this scuttle. Waterloo has the bot prio, so they're going to be moving up here. I think Jarvan's going to have to get out.
3 minutes pays respect, takes his EQ out, leaving that scuttle alive. There is a ward. Now, 2 wards in the same spot. Bit of a blunder, but we are seeing Jarvan go onto his Gromp, completing his clear. Both of them at 20 CS at the moment. Wukong going to jump up to 24 with that scuttle and has a single camp advantage. It depends whether he wants to take his Raptors, run through mid, or go to the top scuttle. He really has all the options right now.
Yeah, and Wukong just is able to get so much priority from this top lane push as well that he can look for that double scuttle. Oh, but Callum and Zenden looking for this. Flash has to be blown. Flash followed. They're going to be able to get the kill. First blood for Callum. They recognize that the support is on the roam, and they just punish as Spaghetti ends up going down to a 2v2. That was a 2v3. Shivani going to be able to go in, but not able to pick up the kill as Waterloo comes out huge on these little skirmishes. Yeah. They're so good at tracking these rel roams instantly, at punishing the Kalista or the Kaisa. And not only are they able to get the stuns, but they're able to get the kills as well.
Yeah, the Jarvan just delayed enough to make that functionally a 2v2 with the Orianna and the Wukong versus Ahri and Rel. And though Rel obviously has a great CC setup, this Ahri, again, doesn't have Ignite. The Rel unable to set up with the CC chain in the 2v2 where the Wukong and Orianna's flat damage is just going to outvalue them.
Yeah, just brilliant plays as Inexhaustive going for the kill. The Jarvan's here. We're going to see if he's able to do any damage or if the Rumble is too strong. He's about to overheat, and he's going to be looking to turn it in. His autos do so much damage, and the Jarvan ends up going down. Inexhaustive is just 1v2ing out here.
Now we'll see if the Renekton is going to immediately pop that teleport, try to get back into top lane before that wave crashes and potentially hold a freezer if Rumble's able to crash. Looks like he is. Ahri does not take that path all the way up to the top lane, instead going back to mid, cutting their losses, and trying to plan for something new.
Yeah, you know, Rumble had so much health. He had such a huge wave with him, and with the jungler, you're just not able to do that much damage at this stage of the game. So Inexhaustive isn't able to kill the Croc, but gets the jungler instead.
And we see Orianna with the level advantage. Those stats and that threat of the ultimate just to burn out... well, actually, the Ahri hasn't even hit 6 yet. She doesn't have flash. That ultimate has so much more relevance without the mobility. Right there, we're seeing it come out, and that's an immediate solo kill.
I mean, Orianna killing Ahri at this stage of the game is just crazy as... Oh, they're looking for another trade here, but I don't know if Rel wants it. Callum going in. He's got the Berserker Greaves. He doesn't care. His dashes are so long at this stage of the game that he can play this game as quick as he wants. Oh, Renata is going to be able to... Oh, Callum gets that kill too. They're so good at also getting all of these kills onto the Kalista as well. Kalista is 3-0, 6 minutes into the game, and bot lane dead means free dragon.
Yeah, I like that priority in the bottom fight. They know that the Kai'Sa's powerful enough to potentially threaten a kill on either one of the Kalista or the Renata, so they send the Renata up, let the Kalista play back, and play cleanup. Because even if there is that 1-for-1 trade, that leaves the AD carry alive, it leaves the kill guaranteed onto the Kalista, and they like that trade.
Yeah, and this Kalista is going to be scary going into this game now. They're going to have to see if they can try and get that shutdown on her. Oh, he should have Smite here. Yep, and able to clone out. No danger there. The Rel just able to sightsee over there. And look at this Rumble again, right? Like, double the enemy CS, and he's just going to be able to push that lane in and punish that Renekton under tower. Renekton, his early game is where you want to punish, but this Crocodile's just not able to do anything right now.
Yeah, and even for lack of deep vision onto the OTSU red side, this Rumble is confident enough to slow crash. He knows that he can take that 1v2 if the Jarvan shows up. He just did. And so he allows himself to take the time, crash this wave deep, but might not have expected the Ahri roam.
Yeah, the Ahri is able to roam here, lands the charm, lands the combo, and they get the kill onto the Rumble. Renekton almost went down there, but Spaghetti is able to save him with a really good and proactive roam. You love to see that.
Yeah, but Plex doesn't want to let this go for free. Putting vision in to see where the Ahri is going to be pathing down towards mid, not allowing the Ahri to take a cheesy, like a greedy path back into the lane to collect as much CS and XP as possible, says that they're going to take one more plate and get something for that trade.
Yeah, and Stagustanops is mid again, gonna be spotted on the ward going in, but there might be a little scuffle over this top lane scuttle, and he gets the ward on the Herald. The Herald has now spawned. Both teams gonna be looking towards it, but honestly, like, looking at the items, Orianna got a solo kill, Rumble got a kill on the jungler. They're looking really strong, and this Herald is gonna be theirs.
One advantage that I'm seeing on Waterloo's side as well is the priority on these tier 2 boots. You see Rumble with the Sorcerers, you see Orianna with the Lucidity boots, and the bot lane both having their tier 2s completed before these kind of damaging components like the Iron Spike whips on the side of OTSU. They know that at this point in the game, they have the stats through level advantages to win fights or at least go even in fights, and so with the tier 2 boots, they get to choose which fights they take.
Yeah, and they're just looking to punish Uken again and again. The Kalista had actually not used her Black Spear to bind with Zenden at the start of the game. Oh, Jarvan going in for a gang. The charm lands. It's going to be a wild 2v2 here. Wukong ulti is doing so much damage. Plex barely able to survive with the flash, and Jarvan ends up going down. Plex played that so well, so greedy with that flash, and he's able to survive that Jarvan burst, and the 2v2 ends up going to the side of Waterloo. Ooh, the ult goes in. Rel looking to counter engage. They get the tower shot, but it's not nearly enough. As Callum, the Ignite from Renata as well, they're able to win the 2v2 once again.
Yeah, and we're seeing an exhaustive going. The Renekton taking that matchup that he picked into, forcing an advantage out with the flashless Rumble, getting on with the ults with the priority, the Rumble ult just coming off cooldown after he dies, and using that moment of an advantage to its fullest potential, grabbing the solo kill, pushing towards these plates. Again, the Rumble, no teleport, has all the safety in the world.
Yeah, Atmos really knowing his limits. I see the Ignite was up from Inexhaustive. I think it may have also just came up. That might have made the difference in that 1v1. But Renekton able to pick up that next wave as well and get a really good back. It really puts him back into this game now.
And so we're seeing this Umbral Glaive build come out of Kai'Sa. We talked about the flexibility of Kai'Sa as a character. We saw the Hail of Blades. We kind of anticipated that this might be the path that she's going towards. But this build, of course, very economically
it's very
efficient.
cheap, yeah.
Efficient, yeah, exactly. But with the Hail of Blades, with the lethality and the early Q upgrades, I think it adding several more missiles to the Q ability, especially that single target damage can be very high. They're playing for early game tempo on this Kai'Sa, but at the moment, they don't have tempo to work with. So you have to wonder if this build potentially is putting them at a disadvantage as they move into late game, where the Kalista, the lethal tempo, the Blade of the Ruined King, gives them more flexibility into playing for late game versions of the character, essentially.
Yeah, Jarvan looking for a gank on this bot lane, but the ward is there, so Callum and Zenden are going to be piecing out. Like you said, that lethality item helps Kalista or Kai'Sa get a bit more back into the game easily with just how cheap it is, but able to get those stats really easily. But yeah, later on in the game, that damage output will suffer as she goes into 5 and 6 items if the game does go that long.
Yeah, and we see the Kalista but not a bot lane. Oh, we're seeing Wukong taking these skirmishes that obviously are very favored for him over the Jarvan.
The Rend ends up coming down, and Jarvan just caught out there, and Latouf is instantly ready to pop that ultimate and get that pick. And Dragon is going to be spawning in 24 seconds here, so we'll see if they do end up going for that. Or maybe OTSU can kind of punish the lack of that Wukong ultimate.
Seeing another fight to the bot lane. Kai'Sa going in aggressively, trying to use that lethality damage. Plasma fully stacked, but unable to proc it. Renata coming out. Renata is going to secure the kill, not going to risk that turning onto Kalista, and that's another 2 for 0.
Yeah, and I feel like Uken and Stego almost had it, but they're not able to reach Kalista at the end, and Callum is able to use that Kalista ultimate so effectively to get that repositioning, get the Renata in front of the Kai'Sa to finish off the kill, and then Rel's just easy pickings after that.
And one thing about this Kalista pick that can't be understated is the sheer safety that it has into Jarvan. They're playing this aggressively throughout the whole lane, pushed up to the towers, running at the Jarvan with Wukong just around in case that he really turns and commits all of his cooldowns on. Because Kalista effectively has a lot of safety. Her Q can allow the to dodge the Jarvan, flag and drag, and the ultimate is effectively not even there with Kalista. So they are very confident that they can take these like lesser number fights and win them, just as the top lane has been.
Yeah, and we did actually miss this while we were talking about that bot lane fight, but Inexhaustive actually ended up going down again to the Renekton. So this Renekton is showing his early game prowess. He's got the Mythic completed, and he's getting his solo kills onto the Rumble now.
Opting not to freeze the lane here, the Renekton using his cooldowns, shoving out that, and the Rumble takes a recall.
Yeah, I think he knows that Rumble taking Ignite cannot get back to that lane quickly, so he's hoping to just quick shove that in and make him lose some CS to the tower. But what he doesn't expect is that Kalista and Renata, they're done taking that bot lane tower. They want to keep trying to get more plates, so they've swapped up to this top lane, and Rumble is now going down bot.
Waterloo beautifully communicating these lane swaps. We see Orianna using the move speed from the wind map and her command dissonance to kind of move from the bot lane to the mid. Seeing an aggressive teleport coming out from
Yeah, Inexhaustive, going to be stunned up by the Renekton, going to be tanking, but Orianna matches the teleport here as Uken is now tanking, ends up going down, and they're not going to be able to look for any other dives here. We'll see if they look to redive this when the stun comes back up.
That ult.
Jarvan with the ult goes in, able to get the
position.
kill on both of them. Renekton just getting massive heals there, and that W to get that guaranteed stun is just so important for these dives. It was looking a bit dire when Uken somehow tanked the tower and ended up going down, but they do end up cleaning it up and get the kill on Inexhaustive and Plex. And now we're going to see the other side being traded on the map. Kalista and Renata going to be able to get that tower here, and the plates do end up going down, which means the tower is a lot squishier. They're going to be able... Oh, Jarvan missing EQ there somehow. But yeah, he's looking for the Kalista and Renata, but the Sentinels spot him out. They're actually looking for the fight.
Like I said, this Kalista's so confident that she can take these fights with these melee characters. The Renata in her best condition. They're going to clean up.
They get the kill onto Uken here, and Renata going to end up going down, but the Kalista is roided up here. Going to be looking onto the Rel here. Reds for the kill.
Onto the Ahri hasn't had enough.
And Spaghetti barely able to get out there, but these guys are just crazy. Callum and Zenden, they see the Jarvan and they're like, hey, we're going in. We don't care how many people there are.
Yeah.
And that's another solo kill onto Atmos here. He's really showing his skill on the Renekton. He picked this side of the matchup. He knows how to play, and he is delivering.
We are seeing this traditional strong side, weak side mentality at the moment. You had the Jarvan supporting the Renekton, even though the Jarvan going down, buying some time for Renekton to get back in when he was slightly disadvantaged, now has used that advantage to come back into the game and is really playing as OTSU's win condition.
Yeah, now it's going to be really interesting. There's a 5-0 Renekton on one side, but an 8-0 Kalista on the other side. So it's getting to the time where I think OTSU is going to have to start contesting these objectives. We've got a Cloud Dragon coming up in 2 minutes, and I'm expecting an explosive fight to happen.
And Warriors Gold seem amply aware of the Bruiser, focused comp on the side of OTSU, and you can see this throughout their builds. You have the Demonic Embrace coming out as Rumble as his first item, shredding max health. You have Sunder coming out from Wukong, shredding max health. Liandry's Blade of the Ruined King. They're really taking no chances with this late game assurance. They want their builds to be as optimized as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And Plex, I also want to mention, is looking really strong here. Oh, Zenden going to be engaged on. There's no getting out of this as he's going to be popped. Uken picking up his first kill of the game.
Uken's gold reset, and this is a flashless, ultless Kai'Sa coming up. However, there aren't really any objectives to be fought over, so the Kai'Sa has a bit of safety before the next big fight. Magical boots have completed. This is probably one of the reasons why there wasn't the priority on the tier 2 boots in the bot lane, taking magical boots with that Hail of Blades. Now going to be able to get the move speed back, and hopefully use that kills gold to be somewhat more relevant into these late game fights.
Yeah, and I just want to point out how forward UW is playing right now. Orianna is in charm range here. We're going to see Spaghetti looks for one. Jarvan and Kai'Sa also coming down and flashes the charm, but Ariel has really good gap closer. Everfrost barely misses. Jarvan's coming around the corner though, so the chase is not done. He has his ult to lock Orianna down.
Oh, using the EQ buffered the unstoppability to get that ult onto that flashless Orianna. Exactly what we were talking about, the priority of that pick. But Waterloo isn't going to take this lightly.
Yeah, they use a Rumble ult, but Renekton does get out. But that tower is going to be going down. They are accelerating this gold lead really hard. Oh, Renekton actually trying to go in. He thinks he can't go out, but...
Ooh, Renekton almost getting that 1k on the Kalista. But
I mean, he won't be able to. That's a Renata. Kalista doesn't die, so... Yeah, his ends up... I believe he had a shutdown there that ended up going over to UW as well. Maybe not with how big their gold lead is right now, but Uken at least going to be getting this tower here. It's weird that the objective bounty has not come in yet, so he's not going to be getting that extra little surplus of gold, but with the priority that Waterloo have, this is another free dragon they're going to get onto Soul Point.
And using that Scuttle Crab, the execution of the Scuttle with the Kalista Q to transfer all those spears onto the dragon, you functionally don't even need that smite when you have a Kalista that's this strong waiting to rend.
Yeah, it's just the Kalista mechanics are just being flexed here by Callum as he's showing how to play this character perfectly. And Kalista is one of those characters, right? You need to know how to play her well, or that short range is going to be really hard to play with in these team fights. But Callum really showing how to play this character, putting on a show. 8-0-3 right now as Waterloo, they are like 7k gold lead up ahead at 18 minutes.
Yeah, 3 dragons secured on the side of Warriors Gold into the early game aggressive comp with the Renekton, the Jarvan, the Ahri. Of course, the Kalista Renata bot lane, not exactly weak in the early game. They really took advantage of that advantage in the bot lane between the two characters, strong siding it, getting dragon control. But we're seeing another skirmish coming out on Inexhausted in the top lane, who's just getting his flashback up right now.
Yeah, 3 people here. Inexhausted doesn't really have anything. Not going to survive. Kill ends up going to Shivadi here as Wukong was nearby, but I don't think Latuf was going to be able to get there. But look at the aggressiveness here. Callum looking on the Kaisa. Renata's coming out, and Uken going to be able to escape into the base, and now they got to run for their lives.
And that's just another one of that disadvantage when you have the Kaisa without the tier 2 boots completed.
And yeah, Callum actually just walking up to dodge the charm. Renekton gonna try his luck, but the Kalista Renata combo is just so strong. They have to take their time with this. Plex is also here. Spaghetti gonna end up going down.
Renekton flashing on. Targeted stun onto this Kalista. Again, really trying to get that shutdown, but Waterloo is gonna clean it up.
Yeah, they just slapped them with their wallets there, honestly. The numbers weren't exactly in their favor, but they're just so strong. And Plex with a good shockwave coming out too. Like, they're too squishy on the side of OTSU, and they just get popped here. And now Callum and Latuf looking at that mid lane tower. They want to grab that quick gold, keep accelerating this game, as now it's a 10k gold lead only a minute later.
Yeah, and we're talking about the objective secure from Kalista. Right now, we have the Orianna going, she's in the bot lane, putting pressure on that very low HP tower, has TP up, and we have Kalista on reset, after coming off of that huge victory, a lot of cooldowns coming out from OTSU, and the Baron is spawning.
Yep, Baron's going to be that next objective on the map here. And what I want to see from Waterloo is try and get that vision down right. Make it so that OTSU just cannot walk in anywhere. And Renata has been doing a really good job of that. You see, she's gone up to that top quadrant. The objective's there. They're going to get the vision, and they're going to try and bait OTSU in to try and get a team fight going.
Yeah, I mean, with that Renekton, no flash, no teleport for the flank, and if you control the vision, that character, no matter how ahead he is going to have a really tough time getting on top of a Kalista with a Renata to peel, a Wukong to peel, and an Orianna to speed up with dissonance, use that shockwave. I mean, he has it really tough right now.
Yeah, looking at OTSU's POV here, they do have really good pick comp, and they got to try and look for maybe some picks on the side lane or anything like that. Try and get these massive shutdowns on the Wukong and the Kalista. That's their only way back into the game. Jarvan going to be looking to get out. Already used the EQ combo, which means going to have to flash here. The hostile takeover coming in. That's going to hit him, but the Berserk sends him running, and Wukong slams the bow staff and gets the kill as they're looking on Spaghetti next.
Charm they are used to reposition out of the way of the Kalista ult. Big rel, but do they have the damage to finish this off?
They do not, as Waterloo is just way too strong right now, and with the jungler down, their eyes are on the Baron.
And all the while, Atmos has been in Waterloo's red side jungle, taking those Krugs, collecting the bot lane, and pushing towards the objective bounty on that bottom lane tier 2. If you're playing for this Renekton as a threat into the late game, something to really put pressure onto the Kalista and the Orianna potentially, I mean, this is the objective you want him to get. That's 600 gold plus the objective bounty. It would be massive, but Orianna, that reset is too quick. Command Dissonance is getting her back towards that tower in short order.
Yeah, and Renekton gonna be looking for a little pick, gonna be hiding in the bushes there, and we'll see if the Kalista or not end up walking into him. He has an insane amount of burst damage. The ult is on, but Callum is just so ready. I mean, is he stream sniping or something? He knows exactly where the Renekton is.
Yeah, and Callum, paying respect to the Renekton in gameplay as well as in itemization. Again, we're seeing Shield Bow come out, which the Renekton, when you're going onto that Kalista, you are forced to be using that empowered W, that empowered, I cannot remember, a Ruthless Predator, I believe is the name of the ability, on that Kalista to start off the fight, which leaves the Shield Bow, is not going to be broken to when she gets low. On top of that, flashes back up, stopwatch purchased. We have Radiant Virtue on the Renata, the Peel. This Kalista is exceptionally difficult to take down.
Yeah, and it's just looking really strong for this dragon. And Latuve going to be finding Shivadi here. And is going to be getting out of there as quickly as possible as that jungle is no longer his. Dragon spawning in 10 seconds as Shivadi needs to get out of there. He's the only smite on the team and he's going to end up going down. That's got to be a free soul for Waterloo.
And if OTSU has any hope of coming back into this game, they got to be pretty happy about the Air Drake role on this. Air Drake, of course, nothing to be scoffed at. The move speed moving around the map just gives Waterloo more and more agency. But with the Baron down, with most of their towers, except for their inner on the side of on top lane down, they don't have that much more to lose other than the game. If they can come back with a miracle fight leading into something like that second Baron or that Elder Dragon, perhaps they have a shot.
Yeah, I honestly think, oh, great cancel by Plex here. They're going to be looking to maybe hunt him down. Oh, great shockwave, a little bit more damage. Plex gets the kill here. He's delaying these backs while the rest of the team is pushing in with the Baron buff. That bot tower is going to be going down. The inhib is next, but Callum wants the croc, and he's going to have to take the consolation inhib.
Yeah, and if we're talking about characters that are ahead, we still see a 1k bounty coming across on Latuve. Kalista, the star of the show here, has the support to keep her alive and all that, but Wukong is just such an insane threat onto the side of OTSU. You're diving into that backline, the Wukong's going to dive onto yours.
Yeah, and the Cloud Soul just helps so much with that, right? The movement speed you get to not only run away, but chase down everyone as they're going to be end up to go in. Good Jarvan ult, but the Equalizer ending up on 3 of them here as they all end up going down. Atmos going to be trying to do something, but the rest of the team is just going to be wiped out as Spaghetti, last one left alive, looking for the Kalista, but this Kalista, look at that life shield. She's hopping around. She's way too strong. She's looking for the end, and that's going to be it. 24 minutes. Waterloo takes game 1 in the best of 3.
Yeah, I mean, they closed that one out with near on a 20,000 gold lead. And I mean, mathematically, I mean, statistically, at least in solo queue, when you get towards the 10k gold lead in a game, your odds of winning surpass 90%. It becomes really you got to look for your miracles, make some unorthodox plays, don't play the game expectedly, and kind of come back through something surprising. But when you get to 20k, I mean, there's not much else.
Yeah, and it was honestly just perfectly executed by Waterloo here. They were able to play to their win condition. The Kalista Renata lane is so strong, and they recognize, right? The Kai'Sa Rel is not up to par in the lane. They're going to be able to punish it. They look for the picks. They get the Kalista ahead, and bot lane ahead means free dragons. They get the soul, they get the barons, and they finish out the game perfectly.
Yeah, and I think that comes down to just how these win conditions factor into one another. Of course, you have that Renekton very ahead, and that Renekton dominates the side lane and draws a lot of pressure. But when Waterloo has win conditions of Kalista, who is just good at taking down the Renekton and neutralizing that threat, it doesn't matter if they're equally as ahead, equally powerful. I mean, Waterloo's going to have the advantage.
Yeah, exactly. And Waterloo, like, the Renekton did a good job of getting ahead, but they really didn't give him any space to play, right? Even Plex getting the solo kill on the Ahri so early on into the game just made that matchup so easy for him. He was doing so much damage in those mid-game team fights already, and you got to try and think about that, right? Like, Orianna, you've seen it be a terror all across this World Championship, but it was still given over as that first pick to them.
Yeah, something not to be understated about the Orianna is that move speed on the Command Dissonance, the control that it has at slowing the enemies and speeding up your allies. When you have something like a Rumble, whose only mobility is move speed, and you have the Wukong, who can just deliver the balls, it doesn't necessarily, like, when you're so far ahead, you don't need the Dissonance for damage. How much that champion enables your characters to choose their own fights and take as much agency as they want is very powerful.
Yeah, and I believe like Oriana just really has to be banned out in that next phase, or they gotta try and pick it away. But we'll have to see what ends up going on in game two. What do you think OTSU has to do to try and like come back in this next game?
Well, I think OTSU has to rethink how they're taking their draft approach because we saw in the last game, in the first three picks of both teams, Waterloo kept their options open, but
Mm.
OTSU committed pretty heavily to that engage comp. They picked the Jarvan, they picked the Ari, they picked, I believe Renekton was their third, or maybe it wasn't, but they still picked those very forward-facing, go-in kind of characters, which allows Waterloo to ban and pick specifically to counter their strategy while not leaving that kind of knowledge for OTSU to play around.
Yeah, and we'll have to see what ends up going on in game two as we'll be back after a short break here. And we'll see you guys. Don't go anywhere soon. There's going to be a banger game two, I promise. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the series. Waterloo ended up taking game one in a decisive manner with a quick victory. And now we're going to be heading over to game two to see if they can finish it off or if OTSU will take game two and make it interesting.
I'm really interested to see how this draft shapes up. First of all, I want to see how the side priority shapes up. OTSU, I believe, is going to have priority on whichever side of the draft they want to take this time. I believe they had the red side in the last game playing. Ideally, red side is going to play for that top lane strong side. They didn't exactly draft that way, but they did end up playing for the strong side Renekton regardless. However, this game they have opted, as it turns out, for blue.
Yeah, and blue side is going to let them pick up these power picks like the Orianna that ended up making a big difference in game one. We'll see if they end up taking that or anything else to give them that early prio. If they can have a better performance in that bot lane, try and get more control over those dragons, it might give them an angle back into the game. And we'll see if they're able to try and find those win conditions that they weren't able to get last time.
Yeah, I mean, Waterloo seems amply aware of the two character combos that are present in the meta right now and are more than willing to play for them and to play to stifle them on the side of OTSU. We saw last game picking away the Rumble from the Jarvan and picking that Kalista Renata famously good together. They recognize that these double picks, the blue side 4-5, the red side 1-2, are uniquely powerful and be able to pick up these combos before the enemies can pick them away from you.
Yeah, and Waterloo taking the red side this time, that gives them a lot of opportunities to get those counter picks, right? And when it, especially you look at that like bot lane and the top lane matchups, whoever can get that like top and support counter pick will usually end up dictating that lane. So we'll see how Waterloo can use these counter picks to try and get the advantage in the early game. And I just really think this meta right now is about finding that early game bot lane, getting those dragons really early on and just pushing the lead. So whichever team is able to do that better is going to end up probably winning.
Yeah, absolutely. And last game, something that we saw was we had a Jarvan into Wukong pick, which are both of those characters are pretty uniformly strong throughout the game. They have unique powers at different stages of the game. Wukong be able to play the disengage, the engage role, the Jarvan the same. Jarvan, however, uniquely suited to ganking in the early game. But we didn't see much of that coming out in this game. Like ganks did not really determine much of how these lanes shaped out. We saw Rumble actually turning onto the Jarvan, the Inexhaustive getting a kill onto the Jarvan kill early in the game, but still losing his lane. We saw Orianna and Wukong taking a 2v2 fight against Rel and Ahri and winning that. But none of these things really translated into the leads that ended up determining the game. It was that isolated bot lane 2v2, exactly like you were saying.
Yeah, and I don't want them to shy away from the Jarvan because it didn't work last game, because I think it still has insane early gank potential. I think like Wukong really needs that like first item to get online, while Jarvan can be so effective right off the bat. But we want to try and see more success in those early ganks, because the mid laner, the top laner, and Kalista has some hops, but they're all like pretty immobile, right? Jarvan should be able to get on top of them, try and get their laners ahead, but it just didn't end up working out. But I think Jarvan's still a premier jungler in this meta, and they should be looking to pick it.
And OTSU, I mean, their execution last game was just off by, seconds and by like small decisions. You saw in that 2v2 that I mentioned, the Jarvan was just too late to make that a 3v2, where that might have made the difference and kind of generated a lead for the Ahri in mid, where then she has the HC to affect the rest of the map. We saw in top lane the difference between Renekton being able to support the Jarvan in the 1v2, where Jarvan ended up dying, was just a matter of seconds. And so OTSU, their strategy isn't necessarily flawed, it's just the execution. They've really got to hone in. And yeah, I just want to see them play with more confidence and maybe kind of pick up the early game advantage where Waterloo's kind of superior execution, at least evidenced by the first game, doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, and I want to try and turn our eyes to that Kai'Sa pick, right? It was picked really early on, and they wanted to try and run an engage lane with it, but like Waterloo has such a good understanding of the meta. They can pick the Renata, and I'm sure they have more picks to try and guarantee that lane success. While Kai'Sa, she has a lot pretty low range, and unless you're just dueling immediately, she cannot get that lane prio too easily. So do you think they'll be switching it up to something else?
Yeah, I'm interested to see if they still pick these kind of flexible AD carries and optimize their builds to the strategy that they want to use. I liked the Kai'Sa on that front. That was also the top 3 pick on the side of OTSU last game. They're willing to use the flexibility of the character to adapt to whatever strategy they need. It was just in that game, the strategy just didn't work. Because what happened was, on the second round of bans, Waterloo then they took the Alistar, they took the Nautilus, which are the 2 most powerful engage supports with Kai'Sa specifically. Of course, Rel still fills that role, but she's more known with other AD carries, stuff like Jinx that we've seen Waterloo pull out in the past. And so the interesting thing was the Kai'Sa's flexibility was stifled by Waterloo's bans and then their priority on the Callista Renata, which itself is a powerful lane to come back into it.
Yeah, and I think like the Kaisa, she can still fight really well. So I want to see maybe the jungler trying to come down more, or like I actually believe he did try, but the vision control was just too good on
Mhm.
Waterloo. They always spotted him out. So trying to get those pinks down to try and let the jungler come in and try and take advantage of Kai'Sa's dueling abilities, having the ult to catch up to the jungler, things like that, and try and get leads onto her because she went like that lethality build with the Umbral and the Duskblade, and you have like pretty good burst with that and stuff, but she just was never able to use it. She was way too far behind. They took 2v2s without any jungler assistance while they were behind, so they just ended up dying on
Mhm.
repeat.
Yeah, and the Kaisa with the Duskblade, or sorry, the lethality build starting with Umbral Glaive does still have the option of opting into a poke build. And in certain situations where, Waterloo playing there with disengaged characters, they have the Wukong, the Rumble, these things that kind of control, and Orianna, they control zones of the map.
Mhm.
Renata, of course, with that hostile takeover, just controls huge areas of the fight. Poke then can be used to answer that. And that's the kind of flexibility I want to see from OTSU going into the next games.
Yeah, and like you said, like try and have that flexibility so the opponent can't read you as well, right? I think the bot lane that was picked at the end of Waterloo's draft really just took it over the edge and
Mhm.
made it so easy to play out. And we didn't see a lot of team fights, but in those skirmishes and team fights, they you can't all dive into like that Renata ultimate, the Orianna ball coming in and walk through an equalizer. Like
Mhm.
it was impossible to play that later
Yeah.
on in the game.
Exactly. So if they can guard their strategy in their first three picks, play on this blue side for meta picks that are flexible, things like the Jarvan and the Orianna, which can be used in a lot of modes, and then leave their last two picks, like Waterloo, to secure an advantage that they can then play through for the rest of the game. We know that they can do that. We saw last game OTSU capitalizing on flashless characters with the
Mhm.
Jarvan, which is one of his strongest modes, is to play with that ult and play on those flashless characters. We saw him do it to Orianna. We saw him do it to Rumble in these top lanes, these side lanes. As soon as they know the flash is down, like they're good at taking advantage of what strategies and like powerful picks they have in their draft. They've just got
Mhm.
to win here.
Yeah, exactly. And we are getting into draft here. Just to reiterate, the sides have been swapped. OTSU is on blue, and they can get these big power picks like that Oriana that was picked last time by the UW. And we're going to start off with a Poppy ban.
Yeah, the Poppy ban is something that they did last time. Picking away the Poppy and then securing things like Ari and Jarvan, they might still be prioritizing the same characters. We're seeing another Talia ban. These are kind of similar to the last games, but I'm wondering if they're going to try and adapt the strategy, if OTSU is going to stick with what they had and focus on the execution.
Yeah, Talia was also banned before. I think just gonna be a repeat of the bans. I don't think there were too many issues with the bans itself. Just has to be how the draft itself folded out. The Rakan coming from OTSU, and I believe Irelia was banned by Warriors
And
last time.
Yasuo as well.
Yeah, that yeah, interesting Yasuo ban, trying to take away the one tricks capabilities here. And
And
yeah,
there it
there
is.
it is. Yeah, the Yasuo not giving them any cheese peaks to try and get it started with. And yeah, the Oriana is the one I'm really curious about. Are Warriors gonna be banning it out on the red side instead of the Irelia, which they can counterpick if they want to,
Mhm.
or if they'll be leaving it up and they have some answers for it?
Yeah, the Aurelia is a very interesting character in pretty much any meta because the character only really has one function. Her kit is so intrinsically tied to attack speed, especially with her passive, that certain characters that nullify attack speed, even certain characters that can build items that nullify attack speed, like Frozen Heart, can really vacuum answer her and allow you to play for the other side. Stuff like the Malphite, in theory, of course, not the easiest thing to pick when you don't have a Silas ban coming out.
Mhm.
But things like that can really shut down an Aurelia, and so Waterloo might be comfortable letting Aurelia through and playing for a vacuum counter. They know that the Aurelia player on the side of OTSU is very good at the character, but it doesn't really matter how good your character is when you have half the attack speed as normal.
Yeah, and the last pick from OTSU going to be the Grays. They're going to be doing the same bans. They think that it was not the bans that made the difference in the last game, and we'll have to see if that ends up happening. As the last ban gonna be the Irelia, they don't want to be taking any chances. They don't want to break whatever wasn't broken, and now we'll see. Oriana, is OTSU gonna take it?
Yeah, the Oriana, the
Yeah.
Jarvan, both open here. If Oriana does get locked, that leaves the Jarvan open for Warriors Esports, which of course picks it away from the Oriana with the synergy and allows them to play for those flash cooldowns, like I mentioned before. Jarvan, of course, came into the meta originally as an answer to the Oriana Victor meta, where his ult essentially could function as the longest CC in the game. I think it's 3.5 seconds or something like that on
Mhm.
his Cataclysm. But we
Oh.
are seeing Vi hovered, kind of a similar mode. You're punishing the Oriana for being immobile. This character is obviously very powerful in context of her team, but on her own, all she's got is that move speed from dissonance to keep her safe.
Yeah, and whichever one they take, they can also take the Rumble in response as well. Try and get that combo. We're able to lock down an immobile carry and just put the equalizer on top of them, and they just burn to death.
Yeah, they pick out the Vi, and the Vi also covers some of the bases for the AD carries, the more mobile AD carries on the side of OTSU. Kaisa is one of them, but we're also thinking very Zeri and Callista. Vi, they're happy to take that if that's what OTSU wants to do. Orianna, of course, being a move speed character, doesn't get that many advantages into Vi, and we see Syndra to synergize with that, really playing for those picks.
Yeah, Syndra has incredible scaling with the new rework that's come out, but the key thing is that she has really good setup, unlike the Orianna. The QE combo combined with the Vi follow-up is so lethal in the mid lane that Orianna has to watch out for. And whenever I see a Vi on the enemy team, as an ADC, I'm instantly thinking Xayah to dodge out on that ultimate. But it's interesting. They're going to go for, okay, going to be maybe an Olaf. We'll see what they ended up locking in. But
Yeah, Olaf Orianna is a
yeah.
very powerful combo. Like I said, that dissonance, the move speed buff gets up, like the haste is something up to 90, 100, 110% or something like that. With the Olaf, it can function as an enchanter to enable that character to run through the peel of a Syndra and a Vi and be a threat onto the backline throughout the game. What Warriors Esports is going to have to do to answer this is I'm very interested in what they do.
Yeah, and they're showing the Amumu here. While it can be jungle, this is a really good series of flex picks here. Olaf can flex top and jungle, while Amumu can go jungle and support. So Warriors cannot be 100% on what they are picking into. So really good flex opportunity shown by OTSU here. And yeah, into an Ashe too, this Olaf is just going to get free reign to run him all down if he just gets even the teeny bit ahead.
Yeah, Warriors really committing to this pick comp. They're going to take the fights that they want to take. They're going to get advantages before the objectives and not let this Amumu team fight come through. They're not going to let the Orianna and the Olaf fight together on the same terms. They're going to burn that Olaf Ragnarok using Syndra E, using Ashe R, so that he's not as relevant into the fights into the late game, because if that cooldown's not up, Olaf really doesn't have as much power as you might think.
Yeah, and the bans are going to start coming out here. They think that it's going to be Olaf top, Amumu jungle as the support bans start coming out. And on the other side, OTSU looking to ban out the Callista because Ashe can be both an ADC and support. The main thing she can do from either role is guarantee that lane prio.
It's interesting to see them ban away the Callista on that side, especially because with the Ashe, they don't really have the option of playing it now. As we mentioned before, Ashe being able to slow the move speed of Callista and really stifle her forward potential means that this isn't a pick that they can really hover. They can't threaten, so they might as well just take it out of the draft. It's a power pick. We know for a fact that Waterloo can play it, so might as well just get it out of the game.
Yeah, and common pairings you see with the Ashe are like some things like the Varus or the Senna to guarantee that lane prio and just make it really hard for the enemy bot laner to play. And yeah, Varus gonna be gone. We'll see what Warriors end up choosing. I believe they will probably save. Actually, they don't have to save counter pick as they see the Olaf that's most likely going to be top. We'll have to see what ends up coming out as a counter to that.
Yeah, it's interesting to see if Waterloo is panning away these supports, the Nautilus and the Alistar, the same exact ones as last game, just because they had a plan going into it, or if they were protecting a specific support pick. Hovering the Akali here, potentially as a top lane, would give them a really good damage split where they can pretty much play whatever they want. The potential of the AD carry support, the marksman support, as it were, for the last pick in their draft, keeping things open. Potentially even a Syndra into the bot lane.
Yeah, and I like the Sivir pick here as you got the spell shield to save you from these potential CCs. And I personally really like the Akali into Olaf matchup. Olaf just really wants to hit you all day long and get that lifesteal up. But Akali, she does her burst, she disappears into her shroud. So she's actually one of those few characters that can come ahead in these trades as
OTSU really committing to this haste comp surrounding the Olaf and the Sivir as carries. I'm a big fan of the strategy that they're taking here. They see that Warriors has specific single abilities that have the most of the power in their kits involved. You have the Syndra EQ, Vi R, Ashe R, and then you say, okay, well, I have an Olaf R, I have Sivir Spell Shield, I have Zillion Haste, and even if you do one-shot my character with a pick, maybe we can conserve the Olaf Ragnarok, wait for Zillion to get in, use the revive, and then have him turn when Olaf comes back up with the Ragnarok and the haste, that Orianna ball. Warriors Esports then taking the Aphelios, putting the Ashe into support, and saying, okay, so OTSU, if you're going to come to us with Sivir, with Zillion, with Orianna, then we're going to take Aphelios, stand our ground, and really make that difficult for you with that super scaling, very powerful, but sometimes low-range character.
Yeah, and we're getting right into game here as OTSU looking for that bot prio. That's all it's going to be about as both of these teams, right? You got the Sivir and the Zillion, both with good wave clear, while the range of the Felios and the Ashe are looking to give them prio. And these are four squishy characters here. The junglers have got to have their eyes beeline towards them right now.
And almost across the board, with the exception of the teleport and the ghost in top lane, we're seeing mirrored summoner spells. We see ghost with fleet coming out from the Aphelios, allowing for more safety and kind of backing off, not letting the cheese of that move speed kind of get on top of them right away, and use the move speed advantage that Ashe gives in consistent fights to its fullest potential. And then we see heals on both the supports. Really, this game is about choosing your fights, going in when you want to with that move speed advantage.
Yeah, and you see Warriors, again, going for that Raptors ward, right? It gives so much information on the enemy jungler based on when you see them on the ward. And this is something they've been consistently doing, and it's been helping them so much in this early game to track that enemy jungle. As Shivadi actually going to be looking to start the enemy Raptors here. This is a really good strat that Mumu can do. He can clear those so fast and look to even contest the Vi on her red, as Atmos going to be messing with the Vi here.
Oh yeah, OTSU is not going to take this game the exact way as last time. They are not having it. They're going to do unique strategies, like we mentioned, trying to generate advantages that Warriors just could not expect. The Amumu taking W on that Raptor start is interesting as well. So the Amumu started being able to take Raptors because his E, the Tantrum, reduces on ability attacks. On unit attacks. But we have a flashless Vi. Ooh,
Yeah,
just missing the Q.
The axe could land. I think she still lives it.
That first Q hit, that was a kill.
Yeah.
I see the vision.
Yeah, but you can see Vi's just not able to play the game. She is able to get the smite, but she doesn't get all the crux, so she doesn't even get level 2 here. And this prio from the Olaf. Oh, he's a bit low. Akali looking for the kill with the ignite. First blood, inexhaustive, saves this early game for them.
Yeah, and that's exactly the matchup you were talking about. The Olaf, without certain enablers, like the Orianna, the Zillion, is going to have a hard time getting onto characters that just make it difficult for him flat. Something like the Akali with her E and with her Shroud. And even in this fight, he has no Ghost, and even though he hits the Q from range, the Akali can play with that level advantage. And that E, the base damage, is just so high. And aggressively taking the Ignite was all that needed.
Yeah, and Warriors, it was looking a bit rough for them at the start, but they end up blowing it. Or OTSU ends up blowing it, and while they're back into this game with the first blood on the Akali, in such a volatile matchup, this can really make the difference. Like, look at this zoning. Olaf being zoned out of lane like this at minute 3 is just not something you ever want to see.
Yeah, and so now we have Warriors taking advantages in both side lanes. So Akali taking the Ignite, getting that solo, she's 2 levels up, and though she's not last hitting every minion on this wave, completely zoned off, Olaf is going to have such a hard time getting back to this game, and because of the way that OTSU started, that Amumu got very much ahead with these early camp clears, but now they know exactly where he is on the map, and Akali has no worries about being ganked.
Yeah, Shivadi barely able to get the red and sneak out with the bandage toss there as the bot lane prio allowing Vi to invade back in, but Amumu is going to keep that farm lead as he's already taken the Raptors, so Vi can't really punish other than getting Scuttle. And it was actually smart by Shivadi to not just do his top side. Oh, ooh. Shivadi looking for a gank. Zendin's going to have to flash it, but he has a second bandage toss. We're going to see if he can land it. Zendin with the dodge to save his life. And now they're going to be able to keep up that prio in the bot lane as Vi's going to finish up her Gromp. We'll see where Shivadi ends up going from here. They should have vision on him. Vi should actually try and get onto that top side, try and even out the CS here.
Yeah, we're seeing the same thing as last game, at least so far. Oh, a flash in, going to use that flash cooldown. OTSU knows how to burn those flash cooldowns and use them. Amumu going to get the kill. Callum kiting back, has the Infernum Gravitum combo, has good AoE. Keeping them off, that's 1.
Oh my
Sivir
God.
just living, but has the bomb. Doesn't get into melee range to use it, and is probably not going to survive. Does get a level up. Tries to snipe. Oh, just barely not.
And Callum just playing that beautifully. Infernum is exactly the weapon you want to have there as you got 3 people coming into you, AoE galore, and he uses his flash perfectly to dodge the only piece of meaningful CC, the Amumu bandage toss, and stays alive the entire time. It's not even a trade as Spaghetti taking a little bit of damage here, but yeah, just crazy plays by Waterloo to win that trade. It was initially really good, right? You use the Zillion slow to guarantee that bandage toss to land, but they get a little bit too greedy. Vi still staying on that bot side allows them to kind of trade some kills back.
Olaf getting behind, using the slow to let the Amumu come in. Akali, no flash because she does have Ignite, but she does have level advantages. She has stat advantages. Her Ignite's coming back up. She might be able to turn this for a kill.
Yeah, and he does
Oh,
end
just
up
barely
barely
not.
going down as Akali, slippery as she is, doesn't have that ultimate to be the Akali we know to get out of every situation. And now the 2-0 Vi probably going to be looking to just pick up that wave, but
Latuf hovering,
inexhaustive
Akali
TPing.
teleporting back in.
Ooh,
It's a 2
Shivani's
levels
so
down
low.
Vi, but she picks up the Amumu. No flash to dodge that. And now Olaf's going to go down as well.
Yeah, Atmos is next. He tries to get some autos in, but Akali going to be picking up another kill here. She's now 2-1 as Olaf, that CS is still looking really bad here as Akali's going to pick up another wave and just get so far ahead. This is a 2-level lead in the top lane right now, and Olaf just can never walk up in this lane anymore.
Yeah, and so what we're seeing is exactly what we were talking about in between the games here. We need to see OTSU get the execution of these good ideas down just right. We saw level 1, Olaf just missing that first Q, not allowing himself to get the kill with the Ignite onto the Vi. And then we saw in bot lane just missing the bandage toss onto the flashless Ashe, which did not confirm into a kill, and they had to make a new play slightly after and kind of let Vi get closer to catching up in terms of map relevance. Though she's not quite caught up on CS or anything, she has 4 kill participation at 6.5 minutes.
Yeah, and you can see the power of the Syndra pushing out this lane, is able to play on the side of her junglers, so Shivani shouldn't be able to get too much off the gank here. Yep, going to be able to get out quite easily. And yeah, Syndra is a bit stronger in that early game, and it is really showing with that CS lead that Plex has beautifully been able to pick up here. And same in the bot lane, right? You're seeing CS leads all across the board with every lane here as Waterloo is just generating a gold lead purely off of CS and a few kills on the jungler as well.
Yeah, it's somewhat to be expected too with the itemization of these comps, of course. We see Sivir starting with a long sword, not as quite as powerful as the newly buffed Doran's Blade because we are on live. We see them starting with a tier for Orianna, so allowing her to scale a little bit but sacrificing some combat power. Overall, OTSU is confident in the synergies of their comp to win them late game fights, and so they're sacrificing a little bit of this early lane potential to secure more of an advantage into the late game when those fights come about.
Yeah, and when you usually play Aphelios into Sivir, it's usually just a call angle, right? You want to scale quickly into that late game, but Callum taking the D-Blade as Vi, Flash Q, gets the kill onto Spaghetti, and you just don't stand a chance. He didn't even have a chance to flash.
Yeah, at that point, Orianna has to see the aggression of the Syndra's positioning and just flash preemptively. And, you know, if you guessed wrong and if it was a bluff, you kind of have to sack that. But in this case, he guessed wrong. He's taken down, conserves his flash for the future. Shivani trades one back. The Vi pretty strong in this 1v1. Amumu out of mana. The Vi has Sheen. No flash to catch up to guarantee a Q.
Gonna see if he can land it. Amumu trying to dodge, but Latuf
opting out of it.
Yeah, he doesn't see the mid laner, doesn't go for the risky play. He's got a 300 gold bounty, so gonna be able to preserve that really well. And he's slowly catching up in CS here, but he's got so many kills that it honestly just doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I mean in that fight when the Amumu's out of mana, and though he has a level up, does he have a stat advantage, and the Vi has the damage on the items, it doesn't last for long because the moment the Amumu gets into the jungle, he starts getting more and more mana regen from the area. And so you notice, right when Latuf decided, okay, I'm not going to take this fight, was exactly when Amumu got enough mana back to be able to fight him. So that was the right call.
Yeah, and Assault barely goes wide there. They're looking still, though. Latuf, he's got the level 6.
We see all 4 sums up on the side of OTSU, but no ults.
Yeah, the Zillion ult isn't there, so this dive is very doable. As Zillion beautifully flashes it, Vi ult follows, and Stego is all but dead here. And
Callum executed.
Yeah, they're looking on the Sivir too, but she has Spell Shield.
Oh, the heal.
Yeah, gonna just need 1 or 2 more autos from the Ashe to pick this up. I think it's worth to trade your life for this. Honestly, even though Sivir gets that kill, she's going to miss out on a huge wave, and she was already behind on CS. So a very successful dive from Waterloo to deny even more resources to that big late game scaling condition.
Yeah, and at this point, we're seeing the opposite of last game, right? We talked about how last game was determined by neutral objectives and by a lack of ganks. This game has been non-stop ganks. We have 7 kill participation on the side of Vi. We see Amumu going in for these ganks that just barely don't work to their maximum potential, and we have not seen a Dragon taken yet.
Yeah, Dragon probably going to end up being taken soon because they just have so much prio right now. They're just looking to get vision, looking to get picks, and that damage from Syndra is disgusting. She doesn't even finish her mythic, but she's able to finish the Zillion as Shivani going to get caught going for the Raptors. He's going to have to pay with his life. Ends up using the flash to actually get out of there.
Orianna has Shockwave, is able to throw it on the
Amumu gets
just
the
barely.
kill.
Oh, they're trading 2 for it, but can Akali trade both of these without getting executed by the tower? and
Wow.
just barely.
The perfect execution is true to its name there as Akali picks up both of them and ults out beautifully. Is able to pick up the kills. Olaf ends up having to roam mid to pick up the wave as well, so not really losing any plates or anything for that roam either.
And we're seeing a pause come in, and one thing that I would want to note is that, as far as I'm aware, this Akali has been sitting on those items, those Sorks and that Blasting Wand for a minute now. So the combat power on this back, just a Hextech Alternator, perhaps a Dark Seal or an Amplifying Tome coming in. That's what I expected. Yeah, not quite the Mythic, but she's getting really close, and that teleport is coming up.
Yeah, Cernafel, he's looking for some action. Oh, and
What a pause.
Little buffer for the pause there. Is the Ash ult going to hit? We're going to have to find out when the buffer goes away.
Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. Oh, the angle on this, it's really going to come down to Oaken's reaction time. Oh, and he steps back, but just barely executed by the Aphelios. Oh, so anticlimactic. It's a good dodge, but he still ends up getting finished off.
And Callum, he sees the Zillions not hit 6. He flashes in for the kill. Callum really playing to the edge of his limits as he knows he can out-damage the Sivir in that fight. He's got the Infernum, which actually gives you plus 10% damage on your auto attack, so you're able to win these trades really well in that weapon combination.
Yeah, those single autos with the Aphelios, the stat increases by levels, the Crocheus Shard Rush, the Doran's Blade, and the double longswords, those single autos are going to do so much more than Sivir's right now, when she's opting into Berserker's Greaves, Noon Quiver, which some of it's statted into attack speed, and just a dagger. Sivir, you know, her DPS might, in theory, be comparable in some situations, because especially with the lethal tempo advantage over Fleet, but those single autos, that 10% Infernum, that Crocheus Shard is just so much.
Yeah, and this does mean the Dragon ends up going down because they have so much prio from this bot in mid lane. And that's the first Dragon being taken. The Dragon stacking going to be a lot slower this game. But yeah, they're going to keep getting on to it. Waterloo now at a 3k gold lead, getting a bit comfortable. We'll see if they can keep
forcing this. We see this combo. We have the Olaf here, has ult, has Ghost, a Zillion beside him to enable him, and that's a flashless Aphelios. If you're going to get that shutdown, now's the time.
Yeah, he's
Runs
got the
through
ult.
Oh, the season assist.
Ooh, the Ignite's on the Aphelios.
Down,
he goes
and
down.
Olaf is going to be able to pick it up. Comes back up with the Zillion ulti. It's exactly what we talked about. He has that Conqueror still stacked, is still a menace in this fight. You know, OTSU was able to clean this up.
Yeah, and it's really well played by Shivadi, getting really good ultimates with the Mumu ult there and able to pick up the kills. And this was a great play by OTSU. They pick up a lot of bounties on the side of Warriors, really puts them back into the game here.
Yeah, that Zillion Olaf combo is something that we really got to watch out for. And Zillion at this point in the game, he's unlocked his ult. He has 3 points in his Q, which is relevant for any fight you want to take. You're going to need to put those points into Q. But as a support at this point in the game, you have the option of starting to put points into your E and W. In mid lane, Zillion, of course, needs to max his Q for for wave clear, but then his E and his W, they have unique leveling patterns depending on what your ability haste thresholds are to be able to get more chained CC, more chained bombs, and to enable the maximum amount of move speed that you can. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Zillion start putting these levels into his E, get that max, I think it's 99% move speed onto that Olaf consistently, and enable him to do exactly what he did in the
Oria's
last fight.
flash here should be a kill coming through. Spaghetti. Oh,
and execute. That's
yeah.
a very positive gold trade. We're seeing a 5 kill difference between Warriors and OTSU, and that's exactly the gold difference between them. It's about 1,500 to 2,000 gold, 300 per thing. They're keeping this as even as they can.
Yeah, and Sivir trying to get plates mid while bot lane is going down here. Shivadi can't really do too much because of the range advantage from Aphelios Ashe, as they're just going to be trading plates on here. But yeah, it was actually really crucial for Spaghetti to get that kill in the top lane as well. Inexhaustive, never actually doing any damage. Oh, but the TP's coming through. We don't have time to talk, as Uken is going to be collapsed upon here. Inexhaustive, he's got the ult.
Ooh, gonna let...
He's waiting it out. He's got the second part of the execution. And, oh, a little bit early, but Sivir has flash. He's going to have to pull off a miracle here, but not going to end up going down. And Inexhaustive, that was such a proactive TP there to really catch them out, greeting for those plates on that tower, and gets another kill. He's 6-2 now.
And we're seeing the same sort of itemization come out from both of these teams in terms of just the overall theory of it. We see Ludens coming out from the Orianna in the same way that last game OTSU was prioritizing utility and flat damage, where Plex, as we're seeing now, is taking the DPS character. You're seeing this Leandries tick down. You're seeing the CDR and the burn from that come out for it's not a one-shot, but it's a one fight all the same. They're optimizing for late game shred of the tankier members of this team, this Olaf and this Amumu, which are obviously their biggest threats.
Yeah, and they know Spaghetti flashed for a kill earlier, so Plex, he's going to do the same, gets the flash Q, gets the kill onto Spaghetti, and doesn't actually end up going to finish up the tower. He's not sure where the enemy team is, so going to be taking the back here. But he's 4-2 now. He's building up that bounty. This Syndra is scaling really well towards that late game. She's also gone first strike, so she's really capitalizing on all these trades and just the fiestas that are happening, honestly.
And we are seeing this new kind of meta build coming out from Syndra where she optimizes for CDR and DPS. Like I mentioned with Leandries, I was interested to see if she would commit to it, and she did. She took the CDR boots, and now it looks like she's building into Cosmic Drive or Zonia's with that Fiendish Codex. The idea is that though penetration on the Syndra is going to allow you to get more one-shots, CDR actually does translate into more raw damage in the late game anyways because you get more orbs on the field, which is more damage on your ults, and of course, indirectly more utility because those ults translate into huge scatter the weaks, big stuns, and just an overall more reliable champion than just a one-shot machine.
Yeah, and this new Syndra build, I think, going to be more useful in those team fights, right? You're able to provide the kind of DPS that people usually see from Ori. The Syndra is not the Syndra of before where you're more of that early game character and you can like do like these one-shots in the late game, but now she's a lot more versatile of a mage, and I don't think the late game is like, she's not too far behind Orianna in the late game power.
And you know, last game we saw Callum getting really fed, getting a lot of kills in that Callista and snowballing that into the victory through this bot lane advantage, the kind of hands diff, just winning those 2v2 fights. Right now, though we have seen a lot of ganks come out, we are still seeing an advantage being generated in the bot lane. Callum doesn't have the most kills on the team, 2, 2, and 4, 1 kill on the Ashe, despite the enemy bot lane for OTSU only at 15 minutes having 9 deaths. But if you look, that's a 40 CS advantage on the Aphelios. That itself is equivalent to about 2 kills, so he's up a lot of gold.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like both of these bot lanes, like, they're going to scale really well into the late game. I actually think what it's going to come down to is these top laners and how well they're going to be able to deal with them, right? Olaf can run down Aphelios really well, and Akali can go to town on trying to assassinate these. But I think the difference really comes from that Zillion ult, right? You can kind of stop one of your core members from going down, but I don't really see how they're going to stop Olaf other than just killing him. So if he continues to keep getting ahead, the Stride Breaker really helps him stick onto targets as well. The Olaf Zillion combo is honestly so scary in the late game where Olaf can just repeatedly run at you and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, they have these kind of micro combos which are incredibly powerful. You see Orianna with a Mumu. Orianna can optimize her ult, get everyone in it as she wants, and the bonus true damage from a Mumu's passive is going to be huge on that. But it's not like Orianna it doesn't enable the Olaf. That was the combo of the original pick. It's the dissonance, the boost speed on that. Ooh, a Mumu ult just missing. That's a powerful combo gone from the fight. But Zen that has been picked off.
Yeah, and that he's just going in by himself, maybe trying to get vision, but he's playing Ashe. Like, you're going to end up going down there as Orianna just ults him to finish off the kill. And that's going to be the second Herald now going to OTSU. They're going to hopefully try and use it on mid or anywhere else to try and get the bounties that are sitting on the towers right now. But you see in Exhaustive, he's on the split, so they're trading that Herald for that bot lane tower. That's a lot of gold in their pockets, yeah.
And we talk about the relevance of these support picks in the early and late game, about how Zillion is a huge late game threat as it enables the other characters on the team, and Ashe allows for the lane priority to get these early dragons. Now, Waterloo picked up the first dragon, but at this point in the game, Sports have the same number of deaths, same number of co-participation as we head into a big dragon fight.
Yeah, gonna come down to a smite fight. It ends up being won by Latouf as they pick up the dragon. Shivati is gonna have to flash out. Vice following, but she's gonna end up going down here as Zendon wants the kill, but there's a Zillion on the other team.
We see Olaf running to their side of the map, Shivati finishing it off.
Yeah, I mean, Waterloo's lucky they got the dragon there. They kind of overcommit on top of the wall to try and get another kill. And I believe Olaf does kill Plex before he ends up going down. So they do end up getting a lot of kills, but OTSU just cannot win that smite fight. And now it's 2 dragons to the side of Waterloo.
Yeah, we see only flash up for Calvin McCoy. That's the red and white guns. This is the worst time to fight Aphelios. Notoriously powerful, running in, using that flash advantage. Is just going to take this fight.
Oh my god.
And is he going to survive into the wave damage? Shivati kind of coming in, but no flash. Has his ult, but doesn't have a way to get in.
OTSU, haven't you heard? Red, white, don't fight as Callum just picks up the 1v2 kill. Easy as that. He knows they used the Zillion ult before, so he ends up going to town. He's really playing to the limits on this champion.
Yeah, and I mean, the amount of cooldowns that were burned in that last dragon fight are...
Oh, what a snipe by Zendon from downtown. Picks up the kill onto Orianna, gets the shutdown.
Was not going to miss again like earlier. There was no freeze frame on it. That was just destruction.
Yeah, and they're going to be looking for a pick on Shivati here. He has the ult to try and stall.
Oh, that's big damage.
I think, oh, Zented barely ends
Zended
up
burning
living.
low with the DPS, and it does go down to the demonic embrace.
I think it was I saw Minion auto slowly going through the Ashe and it ended up killing her. So Minion MVP allowing them to trade a kill onto the Ashe. And yeah, they try and get the Herald, but it's a bit complicated getting it to charge on mid, and Amumu ends up going down.
Yeah, and though you might feel a little bit scared on the side of OTSU because of Warriors' Gold and Dragon advantage and the fact that your explicit win cons, the Sivir and the Olaf, are behind the tempo of the game. Olaf now down a level, Sivir down 2 levels. This Amumu is a sleeper threat on the side of OTSU. Warriors Gold don't have the best ways of dealing with this other than to scatter the weak, which can be prioritized to maybe knock Amumu out of the queue. A flash Amumu ult with all that damage could potentially win them a fight.
Yeah, and I really think it comes down to proactivity, you know? Waterloo has to get in there and start these fights before OTSU can set up and pull off their perfect wombo combos, or else they're just going to be collapsed upon and overrun.
And there's the complete Cosmic Drive on the side of Syndra. Waterloo looking for a pick. Point blank Ashe ult. Latu gonna pick it up. That's 2 ults down with Baron on 45 seconds.
Yeah, that's a stellar example of that proactivity, invading the enemy jungle, catching out Spaghetti, and this gives them so much pressure on the map to do whatever they want because they know the mid laner's down.
Yeah, and I wonder how deep the theory on that play went for Warriors Gold. They're playing for Vision on the opposite side of the map of the objective. Inexhaustive is going to be the slippery Akali that we mentioned before. Does going to get tagged.
Can he E back? No.
Oh, that's a big shutdown onto their Olaf. That's exactly what they want to see.
Yeah, and we saw it in game 1. We see it here again as, Shavati being caught out here. They're both just going to be duking it out, and I believe Waterloo can collapse first, so Shavati going to waddle out of there, hopefully. Yep, but he wants that blue buff.
Yeah, the level, the CS advantage, and the item advantage over Vi. But Vi, the E, the Vault Breaker, that armor shred, on top of the Sunder means that in the 1v1, it's more even than it might look. Shavati greeting back in for the blue buff, does not get anything off. Ashe is good. Oh, man. This is this pick comp that we talked about coming through. Aphelios just finishing on Spaghetti.
Yeah, and Zillion on Atmos, so he's going to be able to survive, but Waterloo can just create so much space here. It's so hard for them to walk up as that blue buff really didn't cost you that much. Oh, he gets the snare. He gets the weapon switch into the quick combo. This Aphelios got his mechanics down as the Baron is next to be ripped up by his weapons.
And that's when we comes down. We talk about execution. We have the Amumu burning ult onto the solo Akali kill and then continuing to fight into the jungle when the Baron is around. At that point, you might feel as the OTSU comp, okay, let them come to us. They have an Aphelios, that's not an engage character. They've used a lot of their bigger cooldowns. Maybe we use our numbers advantage and play around the objective, but no, they continue to fight, and then it just slips through the fingers.
Yeah, I mean, when Aphelios has his snare, he is the engage character. He Gale Force snares the Sivir and just kills her. And yeah, Waterloo have really blown this game open now as they have like a 9k gold lead, picking up the Baron. They're going to be able to get the lane prios to get that priority for the Dragon that's coming up, and that should also give them soul point. It's, Ashe ult hits again onto the Zillion. He's looking forward. And yeah, no ult means he's dead. Inexhaustive picks up another kill. They're just so proactive right now, continuing to look for one kill after the other.
Well, that's why we pick Sivir.
Yep, there you go.
Perplex can be able to finish it off with the ult.
Wow.
That's the Cosmic Drive. That's all those balls we mentioned. The Amumu big combo takes 2 kills down.
I mean, it's just way too late, though, as they're able to do so much damage as they are just... I mean, OTSU is just going in one by one.
And Atmos is hitting that tier 1 in top lane. I mean...
yeah,
that is an objective bounty,
but
if you sacrifice your whole base for it, is it really worth? At this point, OTSU is banking that Waterloo cannot end because the Olaf with these objective bounties would be relevant in fights that continue, but I don't know if Waterloo's going to give them that chance.
Yeah, and Aphelios, he's got his Chakram stacked up, so he's able to take down the tower and inhib so quickly, and they're going to be able to use the enemy's Hex Gates, pick up their jungle, and get to soul point by taking this Hextech Dragon.
Yeah, at this point, Waterloo takes the safer play of the two, does not try to end into the single Zillion and the respawning Sivir, who do have good wave clears, their individual characters, who have stall with that Zillion ult. It's not going to be easy to take him down the whole time. You're just going to be maintaining tower aggro, and your characters, so they would do a pretty good job at killing those towers. Vi, pretty difficult to hit for free. They opt for the safer, more consistent play. They get soul point. They let Olaf take that tier 2, and they're playing for this late game win condition of the Hextech Soul.
Yeah, and I love this build by Aphelios here. He's taking the QSS. He knows it's paramount for him to stay up, so he's going to make sure not to get caught out by like the Amumu ult or anyone flashing on him or anything like that. This Aphelios is going to be so hard to get onto. He's really scaled up to the point where he can just 1v5 teams.
We see a full ult coming out on the flash list too, because he takes the Hex Gate in. Ashe ult hitting that Olaf. And a moat coming out. It's a little BM.
Yeah, but hey, Latu getting a bit ahead of himself, walking into the jungle, which he thought was his. But I think Waterloo's so strong here that they're
This is
going to still
three-man
end up being
Waterloo
taken
against
up.
potentially five-man OTSU, but they're confident.
Yeah, Plex does have the TP to help out, but as OTSU, you got to be looking for something here to try and get it started, try and get back into the game.
They know that Olaf is ultless, and so they're really not worried about it.
Yeah, there's no Olaf ult, no Mumu ult, so what are they really going to do, right?
Taking the Hex Gate out, Plex just hitting on that bottom tier 3.
Yeah, Shivadi desperately trying to look for something, but with every second that passes, Syndra is bearing down on their base, and the wave is gone, so the tower does end up living for now.
The Deep Ash ult coming out. Calumboy ghosting in. Does get tagged with the Amumu, but still no ult. Is he going to use the move speed to keep putting pressure down? That's the second bandage toss out. We see a teleport coming in from Flex, who's going to go on the flank. He has the option of an ult to scatter the weak on the backline here. He's not yet spotted. Zillion ult is up, but you can't ult 4 people.
Ooh, Plex misses the stun, so they're going to be able to walk out of here as that inner turret should be all but going down when the next wave arrives. And Uken and Shivadi actually trying to fight for this, but they just don't have the numbers. Shivadi ends up going down, and Inexhaustive under the enemy tower gets the kill.
Big tower shots. Can Stego finish off an Exhaustive here?
He might honestly end up living here as Atmos gets ulted. Is he going to ult back? Yes, he is, but he's just gets the kill on the
Atmos pretending he doesn't have ult, but then turns it at the last second.
Yeah, and did the Akali go down? Yes, Inexhaustive did end up going down. He was kind of buying items in the enemy fountain there, but
Atmos holding the mid wave. Waterloo has the option of pressing up with these 3 minions, but no, they say, we're going to finish off this Olaf.
Ooh. They do have to be a bit careful. Callum, if he can get one auto down, looks like no. They're just going to be taking their backs. They're just playing it so safe, making sure not to go down here as they're going to be taking their recalls. Baron's up in 1.5 minutes-ish, and they might be taking a look at that, or they might be grouping bot to figure out how to get down that last inhib.
And I mean, the sheer amount of penetration coming out from this Akali and her build is insane. I mean, we have Hextech, we have Shadow Flame, Void Staff, and Sorcerer's Boots. And on the side of OTSU, the MR is minimal. We see an Abyssal Mask and a Jack Show, but also a Mob Malmortius on the Olaf. But the Olaf is playing for more defensive stats. The Akali's going full damage. There's no safety. There's no stopwatch. There's not even a Ruby Crystal other than built into the comps themselves, the completed items themselves. So.
Yeah, and on the other hand, Aphelios, he's picked up that Bloodthirster too. So if you can get a few autos down on minions, you honestly just become a lot more tankier based on the shield that you get. It becomes so much harder to kill you. And Olaf, we saw that one kill in the bot lane there where he got on the Aphelios and eventually ended up killing him. But even he went down in that like level 3 fight too, and now this Aphelios is just going to shred him so hard if he comes anywhere near him.
Yeah, and from the Sivir, in terms of builds, we see the standard coming out from the Stormbrazer, but then, sorry, the Kraken Slayer, but then the Devoray Quick Blades. Now, for Sivir, with its sheer attack speed on her in her kit in general, and the reduction of her ability cooldowns when she's in her ult, she can permanently have her W up. Her wave clear, I mean, if you ever want an AD carry that can soak super minion waves and get strong into late game fights, especially into a melee focused comp, yeah, it's Sivir.
Yeah, and that's got to be on Waterloo's minds. They're going to take these objectives that are coming up, but they got to be looking to end that game soon as they just have so much vision in this topside jungle. The map is so dark for OTSU, so I don't really see how they contest this. They're going to be giving up the Baron. We'll see if they at least set up for Dragon, or are you going to give up Infernal Soul?
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what we talked about in between games. We said that when the gold difference nears on 10k, that the chances of winning come down to something 90%, and you have to do something unorthodox and
I mean, they're
really
looking
creative
now, but it's just so late.
And they're just being kited up by that
Holy
affiliate.
that damage.
Like I said, he says he's come to us.
Oh my god!
Infernum from the long range finishes off Oaken. There's no Zillion ult to keep him alive. Akali on the flank. Zillion ulting the Orianna, but
it doesn't matter. The Akali just has so much damage. Is Akali
going to go over on Shivadi? Akali is pursuing Shivadi into the base. Does land the E, and that's
ends up going down.
Nearly an ace. We just have the Olaf. Again,
yeah, you look into the
team.
top right. The Olaf's taking the enemy red buff, you know? But yeah, he's going to back, but not much he can do. The ult's not even up as Super is crashing into the base.
We're going to have to see if this is a lore-accurate Olaf. Can he be killed?
I feel like he can. There's all the lockdown coming down for him. Zon needs to stall.
There's the emotes,
seconds.
the Atmos Classic, but Waterloo is going to close this out, the best of 3. Double the kills, a 15k gold lead, wrapping it up in style.
Yeah, massive performance by the team here, taking the 2-0 over OTSU as they're able to start off this group stage strong with the win over them. They're now 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, this was somewhat to be expected. Waterloo is a very strong team with high-ranking players across the board, performed well in the past, top 8, top 4 in these tournaments that they're coming in.
Mhm.
And this group, in their own, just three teams, OTSU, Alberta, and Waterloo. Waterloo's got to be in the top 2 in terms of just, like, being the favorites, being considered to be the strongest. But OTSU, despite the goal differences at the end of the game and the Dragons, they had moments where they shined. They really do have a shot still.
Yeah, I think in game two especially, they kept it close in that early game. They had some really great plays with the combos that they had. I really like their draft this time around, but Waterloo were able to play around it so well, and especially that macro around these objectives. They just took over the enemy jungle and took over the game in consequence. But yeah, Waterloo, they just put on a splendid performance, and this is a great sign of things to come as they have more matches upcoming this week. They're facing Alberta in a couple days, and they hopefully can replicate this form coming into that.
Yeah, and then on the OTSU side, we saw the beginnings of some really high potential. We saw creative drafts, that
Mm.
Zillion, Olaf, Oriana. I mean, they clearly have ideas that can have huge impacts in the game. We saw them shut down that Aphelios, the
Mhm.
Kamkoi, who's a extremely high performing member of Waterloo, being taken down. We saw in the first game they have their Jarvan, they have a mobile solo laners on the other side, and they know to play around those flash cooldowns. They know what they're doing. If they get that execution just right, they can be a real contender.
Yeah, and I just want to come back and commend Aphelios for that game. Like, oh my god, the mechanics that he's displayed. He's getting kills from downtown. He's 1v2ing the enemy bot lane. It was just a great display of mechanics to see from top level players here. And Waterloo hoping to take these great drafts, this great execution to them into the upcoming games in the following week. But that's it for tonight. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. It's Karthik and Wizard out.